Yo, Scott, let's talk some cross positional trading. So 12 team Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium start 10. Are you going Brandon Ayuk or Ken Walker the third? Go ahead, man.
Uh, so this is going to be a cop-out answer just because every one of my answers is more in-depth than just the players. So, it's player A versus player B. If you really have a preference, then I'm fine taking either one. I think if you're trying to spin this into more impact on my roster, it's probably Ken Walker. More impact in terms of liquidity or fluidity for the rest of the year or even the next 6 to 9 months, I'd probably take Brandon Ayuk. So I think I'd lean the Ayuk side, but that's also assuming I have a team built where I can absorb the loss of Ken Walker.
Right.
If not, maybe the other way, where if Brandon Ayuk's my wide receiver 4 or 5, and I literally just have, what do the listeners like to call them, just a bunch of cans at running back, maybe I say, you know what, this is an anti-typical trade that I would make, but in this case, give me a running back, and I'll try to backfill with cheaper wide receiver production. You can do that. But in this case, there's no context. So I guess I'll take the receiver just because I know I have more flexibility.
Yeah, so a couple reasons why I thought of this idea is one, it's getting tougher to tier down from a running back to a lesser running back and get a piece on top, get a first on top. So disguising value by trading cross positionally. And it doesn't have to be one for one because that's not really disguising anything, but doing a move. So if you have Ken Walker the third, I've got a couple leagues where I'm right middle of the pack. I had some injuries, like Jefferson went down on one of the teams, and basically I need to sell a running back. So I'm sending out Ken Walker in deals for, high end wide receiver twos. So what are your thoughts on that strategy in terms of cross positional?
Well, when it's running back, running back technically is a position, but I think for the most part, a lot of people don't treat running back as a position that has market value. So always, if you're going to be able to take running backs, convert it to not just value, so not just draft picks or future value, but actually production that is at another spot, it really feels like the running back position, the masses are starting, and maybe it's our channel, maybe it's a lot of people that think this way, but I've just seen it implemented across a lot of my leagues to where a lot more people are fine rolling out any running back they can get, and they also haven't attached long-term value to most of those running backs. So they realize that just because I have a quote-unquote maybe better running back for their career, or historically this guy has been better than that guy, it doesn't matter if that's currently not the case, right? Like Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, those guys you would say historically are better than Joe Mixon. But the person that has Joe Mixon doesn't look at Tony Pollard and say, that's the type of dynasty value I want to accept. In fact, they may look at it and say, I'm fine with the running backs I have if they're currently productive. So if you can then go take a guy like Pollard or Jacobs, especially Jacobs, because now he's on a team that you don't even know if they're going to try the rest of the year, and you can convert him into usable production at receiver, you also know you're getting the asset that's going to hold its value. Whereas the market is not crediting the running back value outside of what are you doing for me now? And then the teams that don't need the running back value, they're still looking at it like, man, if I can't use it this year, I'm willing just to reset, wait till next year. I'll look for next year's versions of those guys that are producing in the moment if I need it. So I think cross-positional trading, if you can even get equal value at receiver or quarterback, just to get rid of some of your running backs, it's smart. And then you just worry about running back at a cheaper cost if you need it later.
So that's part of the reason why I like it too, is it opens up the trade market so much. Because when you're trying to do a tier down at running back, for example, there's so much lower volume of players that you can work with. Whereas if you're going from a running back to a wide receiver or a running back to a tight end, I went yesterday from a quarterback to a tight end. So I had a league where a bunch of hammers, shallow. It's 12 team, super flex, half PPR, full PPR for tight end, start 9. I had Lamar, Dak, Fields, and Bryce Young as my QBs. Trash can at tight end, literally Conklin, right? Stack team otherwise. I traded I traded Bryce Young and an early to mid 24 second. Got Travis Kelce in what could be an early to mid 24 first. because it's one of those freaking toilet bowl leagues. So that's a move that I did to be able to get a hammer tight end. So it just opens up the market in terms of you can trade all sorts of positions, not just running back for running back. So I think it's a way to get trades done.
Yeah, and
And real
especially
quick, like Joe Mixon too. So I've been trying to spam out like offers for Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice, like things like that may not happen, but it just if you're in the middle and you want to go one way, there's just a ton of options.
Well, and you mentioned at the beginning that it's very hard the reason why a deal where you're tiering down at the same position, especially at running back, doesn't work is because of how the other person is viewing those assets, right? They're looking at the running back as a placeholder versus a position evaluation on that individual player. So if I send you a running back for a running back and a pick, your mind immediately is going to go to, well, those running backs occupy the same spot or the same place that I'm targeting to use them for, right? My RB2 or whatever it is. I have to kick in the pick. Whereas in years past, it might have been you look at the two running backs and you really evaluate the difference between them. And now you're not really doing that. If it's egregious, sure, you'd pay a second to go from, Joe Mixon to Travis Etienne or something like that. But if it's not, and it looks like it's a lateral move, you never really want to be the one that gives up the extra second, right? Or kicks in the extra third. You're kind of like, what's the point? I'd rather use those assets elsewhere. So I think the strategy doesn't work as much anymore. So you do have to go cross position. Otherwise, you're just stuck with the running backs you have. You're muted. Rookie.
What a rookie. What a rookie. I know. This dynasty trading floor where we're both wearing hoodies and hammer t-shirts, right? No, how about Pollard and T. Higgins? Like a trade like that in terms of going cross positional, just in a vacuum, the value there.
I think that's very similar to Ken Walker and Ayuk. I think you are converting if I'm trading away the running back and I can convert that running back, because good luck getting draft picks for most running backs, right? Like you're not going to be able to just throw around players that are running backs and get firsts. So if you can convert it to something that isn't a first, which is going to remove some of that risk reward from the person that's because people are hesitant to trade away their picks if they're in the middle because they're not really sure. But they may be more apt to trade away a guy like Higgins or Ayuk because they go, well, it's not a draft pick. It's still a wide receiver. It's not going to kill me, especially I get points from the running back that I'm acquiring. So I think it's a sneaky way. And even if you are stuck with the running back that you just can't move for what you think, it's actually a sneaky way to get a deal done that will benefit you in 6 months where you're looking for more flexibility on your roster. T. Higgins is going to have more flexibility than a free agent Tony Pollard that's not having a good year. Even if Tony Pollard down the road provides more positional value to you, you're still going into the offseason and saying, what would you rather have on your roster? And it's probably not the running back, especially if you're in a league like we're in some of our listener leagues. No one values running back. None.
Right. Exactly.
They value them when they need it. But how many... Have you ever seen one of our listener leagues where someone puts a Breece Hall or a CMC on the block and is there ever even a legitimate offer?
No.
Right.
They're not going to accept. You're not going to see a trade go through where, CMC is sold for Ken Walker and it's 25 first. You're never going to see that. So let's move off of running backs. Let's talk about trading from wide receiver to tight end. So how about 12 team Superflex PPR 1.5 tight end premium start 10? Sam Laporta or Jalen Waddle? So trading Jalen Waddle for Sam Laporta.
Waddle.
What if it's a 1.75 premium?
You're not going to like what I'm going to say about tight ends, but I think we're just getting into a range where they are more effective. I talked about this on Destination Chill last night. Tight ends, I think, because he asked me about drafting Brock Bowers next year, for instance. And I think we're in a range now where because the tight end landscape is so flat, that you can actually draft a guy like Brock Bowers. It's going to be an expensive cost, top 4, top 5 rookie pick, but you actually can draft rookie tight ends in good situations that have good profiles to actually produce. What you don't want to do is draft them for the value, because as soon as you have a guy like Laporta, if I say, Clay, is Laporta getting you to the talking table with the other heavy hitting receiver or quarterback assets? Yes or no? If you have Garrett
Right.
Wilson, do you have a better shot of going getting Chase or Jalen Hurts than if you have Sam Laporta?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that tells me right there that even if you, and this is a rookie productive tight end 1 in Dynasty, and you put him into a deal and it's like, I kind of like him, but he's a tight end and tight end really doesn't matter. So even in the format, if it matters, it feels like tight ends are now more a mechanism to just get production. But if I'm holding a tight end asset in the case that you just proposed, I'm trading into something that I don't think is that flexible. So I do think there's still a premium on the other positions instead.
Well, let's get a full background on the tight end market then. So, not cross positional. Can we still tier down from the elite tight ends to second, third tier tight ends? I mean, I look at some of my teams, and yeah, one of them, the OG Trades in Five League. I've got Kyle Pitts, I've got Evan Ingram, I got Sam Laporta. I could be fine with just Evan Ingram and sell Laporta's value, and that's something that I've been working on. But can we still tier down at tight end as opposed to running back?
You can, but I think in your case, you mentioned the magic name. Evan Ingram is the tight end to have if you want to kind of just be stuck with a player and you're very confident that the guy's going to give you a floor and he can give you some ceiling because he's in a good offense. He's probably the best target earning tight end in the league, if not, top 3. So he if you've had him, you've started him, he gives you double figures every week. Now he's not going for 30, but if you had him, you feel comfortable trading those other 2. Here's the question, though, and I'll turn this back on you. On a roster where you have Evan Ingram, Laporta, and Kyle Pitts, I'm guessing that you're the one trying to say, I want to move Evan Ingram, and immediately the market is never going to be what you want it to be. So you're like, he's the guy I'm going to have to keep. But at what point does that inflection point happen to where you say, okay, I will trade Sam Laporta or I will trade Kyle Pitts, and it's a little less than what I can get, but that's my market. And the value of me being able to get off of one of those players is worth more than me just holding all 3 and keeping them away for the rest of the league. Because you haven't moved them yet, but like, what's your target range of what you would actually be looking for, knowing the league already sees that you have all 3 and knowing pretty much you want to get off of one of those? What's kind of like the 70, 80% price you would take just to accomplish what you want to accomplish versus holding them?
Yeah, so I tried to sell Laporta first. I put Laporta in people's inboxes as opposed to Ingram because I know Laporta Pitts Ingram is probably the value on the market in terms of who wants to have a conversation. So I can't remember the exact offers. I think I was trying to package Jordan Love and Sam Laporta to get up to like freaking not Herbert, but it was up there. Anyway, doing packages like that, but yeah, I mean, I'm down to hold Evan Ingram. I know he's a dead asset. I'm never going to get anything for him. He's just like Christian Kirk on the same team. He's going to give you points, but when you try to sell him, there's just nothing there. So I did spam out some offers. Evan Ingram for 24 seconds, nothing yet, but I think that's pretty fair price in that premium league. So we got to run. You have a meeting. I have a conference call. I have to talk about shorting stocks, right, on our stock trading floor here. This was fun, man. Sorry we didn't get to you in the crowd. We got 138 eyeballs in here. This was just kind of a impromptu stream.
Yeah, and hit us up if you guys like us doing this impromptu a couple times during the week, just talking whatever's on our mind. I'll text Clay. Clay texts I, hey, there's a topic that we want to cover, and we'll just come in and hit it for 15 minutes, and maybe we'll do some breaking news. If anything happens, that we want to cover real quick, we can talk a little bit about that. But let us know if you like this kind of format, 15, 20 minutes during the week, and we'll try to do this more often. So thanks for coming up with it, Clay. Good stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. You can get this all day in our Patreon, in our Discord, patreon.com/allgas if you want to join. Free hoodie promotion going on right now, but take it easy. Everyone enjoy the rest of the day and this stream.